Anne Frank's Experience, Compare and Contrast to Other Novels by Alejandro Mejia Uribe. Anne Frank Collections. Anne Frank is a young teenage girl who had to hide from German soldiers with her family, her father, her mother, and her sister Margaret. They hid since they were Jewish. Her father, Otto Frank, lost his job since the Nazis made a law for all Jewish people not to have a job, and for the kids, they couldn't go to school. While they were hiding in the secret annex, they had another family hiding with them. They were the Don family, with Mr. and Mrs. Van Don and their son Peter. They also had a man named Mr. Dussel. The Diary of Anne Frank play is all about her life when she was hiding in the secret annex and how it was like sharing a room with two families. Some of the conflicts they face is a person versus society conflicts, which is the Nazis or people who support them treat them badly, like it's shown in the picture, with people holding the flag. And the text states, then the war came, and the Dutch capitulation followed by the arrival of the Germans. Then things got very bad for Jews. You cannot do this, you cannot do that. They forced father out of his business. We had to wear yellow stars. I had to turn in my bike. I couldn't go to Dutch school anymore. I couldn't go to movies or ride in an automobile or even a streetcar and a million other things. Goodrich and Hackett 283. There's also a person versus person conflict that was resolved quickly. The Van Dam were getting greedy with their food, so they ate a lot of it, and they had a big argument, and the Frank family wanted them to leave. In the play, it says, quote, Miss Frank, the bread. He was stealing the bread. Dussel, it was you. All the time, we thought it was the rats. Mr. Frank, Mr. Van Dam, how could you? Miss Frank, we're all of us hungry. I see the children getting thinner and thinner. Your own son Peter, I've heard him moan in his sleep. He's so hungry. And you come down and the night steal food that should go to them, to the children. End quote. Goodrich and Hackett 342. But they resolved this by the morning. Mouse is about Artie Spiegelman making a book about his father, Vladek Spiegelman, who was a Holocaust survivor. This book was about the time when Vladek was in the Holocaust. Vladek talks about a lot of his past, like what happened to his first son Raichu death, and his first wife Anna's death. There is also an experience of Artie writing the book and his father arguing with his second wife Mala about money and that she's greedy. There's a lot of conflicts, like a person versus society, like a part of the graphic novel where they were trying to hide with a Polish family, but there was a woman screaming that there were Jews around and saw them. Old lady, ah, Jews, there's Jews in the courtyard, police. End quote. Spiegelman 137. This is because the Nazis convinced people that Jews are bad and imperfect. There's also a person versus person conflict with Artie and his father, Vladek. They don't have a father-son relationship. Well, they do, but it's hard to explain. There was a part where Vladek threw away Artie's favorite jacket because Vladek didn't like it, and Artie was mad because of that in the novel. There's other things that it's not really a father-son relationship. In the novel, it states, quote, Artie, oh dad, have you seen my coat anywhere? Vladek, I threw it out. It's a shame my son would wear such a coat. Artie, but I like the coat. Vladek, here, I have a warmer one for you. Look, dad, I'm over 30 years old. I can pick my own clothes. End quote. Spiegelman 69. For me, I see a father-son relationship because my dad goes to the same thing. He throws away some things that I like, but he doesn't. There's also parts where like they argue and they have like little arguments around the story. Another thing that Artie blames his dad for is that his dad threw away and burned all Artie's mother's diaries. So Artie can't use his mother's diaries for the book, and that's a problem for him because he wants his mother's experience as well, and he doesn't know anything about his mother. Vladek says he's sorry, but he burned everything, and Artie calls him a murderer, and he's really mad about it. After Auschwitz is an autobiography about Elie Wiesel, time at the Auschwitz when his family and him were sent there. He talks about how it was and all the terrible things that he has experienced. He says that all that has happened, nothing for him is ever going to feel the same. He also wants us to remember this so we'll learn from it so we won't make the same mistake again. A conflict in the story story has a person versus himself conflict. He's saying to get over what has happened for thousands of people is hard. After Auschwitz, the human condition is not the same. Nothing will be the same. Close your eyes and listen. Listen to the silent screams of terrified mothers and the prayers of anguished old men and women. Listen to the tears of children, Jewish children, and beautiful little girl among them with the golden hair whose vulnerable tenderness has never left me. End quote. Weasel 380. There but for the grace. This poem is about author/main character is lucky how that she didn't get to sent to concentration camps. She speaks in the second person point of view. Quote, it could have happened. You survived because you were the first. You survived because you were the last, because you were alone. End quote. Szymborska 386. I see a person versus themselves conflict because I feel like that she's grateful, but she feels like she didn't really do anything. Quote, luckily there was wood, luckily there were no trees, luckily there was rail, a hook, a beam, a break, a frame, a bend, a millimeter, a second. Luckily a straw was floating on the surface. End quote. Szymborska 386. This says that she's lucky and it's just a coincidence. Anne Frank and Maus, similarities and differences. 3 similarities are Anne Frank and Vladek have both experienced the Holocaust. They both went to hiding and then got caught by someone telling on them. They both had to struggle to survive and had someone to help them. Vladek had some Polish family member helping him hide, while Anne Frank had Mia to help him get food and other necessities to live. 3 differences are Anne Frank died when she captured due to a disease. Vladek is a Holocaust survivor, so he survived the concentration camps. Otherwise, Anne Frank died due to a disease. Anne Frank was a child, and Vladek was an adult. Yes, I already know that you said we can't put that, and it wasn't a good difference, but I wanted to say it was. Anne Frank was only 13, experiencing everything that has happened to her at a young age. And it's really difficult for someone that young to experience all the dreadful things that happened to her at that time. I mean, it's difficult for everyone, like even Vladek, but Vladek was an adult and he took charge to protect his family the best he can, while Anne Frank couldn't do anything, just hoping for the best. Anne Frank wrote everything about her experiences in her diary, while Vladek had his son writing a book. Anne Frank and after Auschwitz, similarities and differences. They both wrote similarities are they both wrote first-hand accounts about their experiences and about the Holocaust. They're both 15 when they were sent to concentration camps, and they both had one family member survive the concentration camps. Otto Frank, Annie's father, survived, and Eli's for his family survived. Differences are after Auschwitz is more about him describing about how it feels at the time, while Annie Frank is her experience, and like Weasel's work is a fictionalized account of the horrors and of the Nazis' concentration camps, like everything that he's done and like the things that I heard and he couldn't deal with. Eli was a survivor of the concentration camps, while Annie passed away due to a disease. Annie wrote her story when everything was happening, and Eli wrote after he survived the concentration camps. This is the last slide. Anne Frank, there but for the grace, similarities and differences. This one was pretty hard for similarities and differences. I know we were supposed to have 3, but I couldn't really think of anything else. So hopefully, like, I know it's not fine, but still. A similarity that they both literally contributes about how it was back then and can help on how the future generations understand the events in the war. Differences, Anne Frank died and Szymborska survived. Her poem was about her and other survivors being lucky, while Anne Frank diary was about Anne Frank's experience.